Today on Nursing Matters, specialty nursing in 2026 and where the demand really is. I'm Christina, and this is your daily dose. Let's get into it. Because if you're a nurse right now, or you're thinking about your next move, you're probably asking some version of this question. Where should I go next? Not just what job is open, but what specialty actually makes sense. Where is the demand? Where is the opportunity? Where am I going to grow and not burn out? And here's the truth. The market is shifting. Demand is not evenly distributed anymore. Some specialties are desperate for talent. Others are more stable. And some are evolving in ways most nurses don't see until they're already in it. So today we're going to break down where the demand is in 2026, and more importantly, how to make a decision that actually works for you. The latest projections show nursing employment growing steadily over the next decade. But here's what matters more than the overall number. Demand is not uniform across specialties. Right now, some of the most significant shortages are in critical care, oncology, perioperative nursing, and psychiatric and behavioral health. And if you're paying attention, that tells a very specific story. Critical care demand reflects higher patient acuity and complexity. Oncology demand is rising with an aging population and more advanced treatment pathways. Perioperative demand is being driven by surgical backlogs and an increase in outpatient procedures. And psychiatric nursing? That's tied to something much bigger, a growing mental health crisis that the system is still trying to catch up to. So yes, the market is sending signals, loud ones. If you are looking purely at opportunity, there are areas where jobs are open, systems are hiring aggressively, and compensation and incentives are often stronger. But here's where I want to pause, because this is where a lot of nurses make a critical mistake. They chase demand without asking if they actually want that type of work. If this is resonating with you, like and subscribe so you stay part of this conversation. And if you want to connect with community built for nurses, visit rnnet.org. That's rnnet.org. Now let's keep going. I've placed thousands of nurses across specialties over my career, and I can tell you something that data does not capture. The specialty where you thrive is not always the one with the highest demand. It's not always the one with the highest pay. It's the one that aligns with how your brain processes information, how you handle stress, what kind of patient interaction energizes you, and what kind of environment you can sustain long term. Because every specialty has a rhythm. Critical care is fast, high stakes, constantly evolving. ED is unpredictable, rapid-fire decision-making with constant turnover. Oncology is deeply emotional, relationship-driven, long-term patient journeys. Psych is communication-heavy, behavioral, often less task-driven, but emotionally complex. OR is structured, process-oriented, precision-focused. And if your natural wiring doesn't allow or align with that rhythm, you will feel it quickly. I've watched nurses step into high-demand specialties because they thought, this is where the opportunity is, this is where the money is, this is where I should go. And within 12 to 24 months, they're burned out. Not because they weren't capable, but because they were misaligned. And I've also seen the opposite. Nurses who chose specialties that weren't the hottest on paper, but were perfect for them. And they became highly skilled, deeply confident, and incredibly valuable. Because when you're aligned with your work, you don't just survive it. You grow in it. You get better faster. You build expertise that others don't. And over time, you become irreplaceable. That's the long game. Now, let's talk about something else that matters. Demand changes. What is hot today may stabilize in a few years, but your alignment, that's going to stay consistent. So if you build your career purely around market demand, you will constantly be chasing the next big thing. But if you build it around alignment, you can move within the market strategically without losing yourself in the process. That's how sustainable careers are built, not by reacting, but by understanding both the market and yourself, and making decisions at the intersection of the two. So here's the thing I want you to do this week. If you are even a little bit curious about a specialty, reach out to one nurse who is doing that work right now. Not HR, not a recruiter, but a nurse. Someone who's living it every single day. Ask them one question. What do you wish you had known before you started? That's it. Because that question will give you insight you cannot get anywhere else. They might tell you, I didn't realize how emotionally heavy this would be, or I didn't expect the pace to be this intense, or I didn't know how much autonomy I'd actually have. That's the real information, not just the job description and not the posting, the lived experience. And when you hear that, pay attention to your reaction. Does it excite you or does it make you hesitate? Because that reaction is data for you. And it's some of the most important data you can use. One conversation can save you from months or even years of misalignment. Or it can confirm that you're exactly where you're meant to be. So if you take nothing else from today, take this. The market always tells you where the demand is, but it will never tell you where you belong. That part you have to figure out on your own. And when you get it right, that's where careers take off, not just in growth, but in sustainability. This is Nursing Matters, and this is how you make smarter career moves in a changing market. If this episode helped you, send it to a nurse who's trying to figure out their next step, because this is the kind of clarity most people don't get until they've already made the wrong move. In today's podcast, you had the opportunity to hear my dog say hello. If your pet's been scratching, licking, or not acting like themselves, it might be time for Dutch Pet. Dutch connects you with licensed vets online and delivers the treatment your pet needs right to your door. No clinic visit, no stress, just real care made simple. Check it out at dutch.rnnet.org. That's dutch.rnnet.org. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Nursing Matters Daily Dose. Are you interested in more career resources? Then hop on over to the RN Network at rnnet.org. Also, while you're at it, hit that like and subscribe button and share this episode with one nurse who really needs to hear it. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.